welcome back to the program. It's the Vicki McKenna Show. Early voting for the August 13th primary and election for the decision on the constitutional amendment questions has begun. So you can vote now. Just want everyone to know that. What we're going to talk about is, I don't know what's on your individual ballot. We want people to vote for Eric Hovde, obviously. But we also want people to vote yes on two constitutional questions that have only really gotten negative attention by the Wisconsin media. So we'll talk about that coming up. Skylar Croy from Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty is joining me on the phone to talk about this. Before we get into it, though, Skylar, what did WEC just try to do? Early last week, I saw some information that WEC had attempted to use emergency rulemaking again when there was no emergency going on. So what was that all about?
Thanks for having me on, Vicki. So what WEC did was declare a state of emergency, and it said that the emergency was that there will be high voter turnout and high levels of scrutiny in the upcoming election, which are obviously not emergencies, and you could say that about basically every election. And then it said that the state of emergency gives it authority to do what's called emergency rulemaking. So normally rulemaking is very, very cumbersome, but if you're doing emergency rulemaking, you can skip holding a bunch of steps. The big, most important one, you can skip holding a public hearing and a comment period on those rules. So with this state of emergency, they promulgated or attempted to promulgate three different rules. The first was about uniform instructions for absentee ballots, and then there was another about challenging declarations of candidacy and another about challenging nomination paperwork. The specifics aren't really important. The takeaway is that there wasn't an emergency, so they shouldn't be trying to promulgate it. And you can even see that in the subject matter for the two of the rules that I just mentioned. Obviously, high voter turnout, high levels of scrutiny have nothing to do with challenging nomination forms or challenging declarations of candidacy.
They were trying to give themselves the ability to use emergency rulemaking going forward up until the November election. And this would have been a very dangerous thing to allow them to do.
Well, absolutely. And unfortunately, since COVID-19, there has been a rise in the use of emergency rulemaking, not just at WEC, but across Wisconsin government generally. And while I'm sure some of them were probably well-intentioned and maybe even helpful for addressing certain issues, this trend is very concerning because it takes away that democratic input that would otherwise be there in the rulemaking process.
Well, but with WEC, it takes away all of the democratic input in advance of the most important election in our lifetime. And to allow them, and the legislature shut it down. Happily, the legislature shut that down. It actually made national news. It made the New York Post that WEC had again attempted to circumvent democracy and give itself sole authority over election rules without any comment. So the legislature is just taken out of the mix entirely. It gets us to the theme of the two constitutional questions, but I want to make that clear. WEC was trying to give itself the authority to just change the rules because it decided what an emergency was. But Skylar, I mean, emergency is high voter turnout? Come on. I mean, emergency could be road construction, weather. Imagine the kinds of things we could declare as emergencies.
Right. And just 2 points. So one, just so your listeners know, at the hearing before the legislative committee, WEC didn't even show up. So there was no one from WEC to defend this because I think on some level, someone over there realized it's not really going to be defensible. And there is a statutory definition of emergency, and it's not whatever a bureaucrat says. It's threats to public health, safety, and welfare. And obviously, high voter turnout has nothing to do with any of that.
Yeah, again, it's another reason to reform WEC or get rid of it entirely. WEC didn't even show up. They knew they were full of it.